In this video, we will learn how to extract the data in Power BI Desktop. Here we are having two options, get data at the top and get data on the right hand side. So I'll click and also import data from Excel sheet. It depends upon, suppose I drop down this option, I'll have more option like import, data flow, data warehouse, SQL server, CSV file, text file, Excel workbook, and I'll click on get data. So that will have the get data. Suppose I click on the get data from here. So it will have more options and I'll have like Excel, click on Excel workbook, then connect. Then I'll import customer detail from here and it will take few seconds to import the data. Now I'll click on the customer details and there are two options, load and transform. So when I click on the load, so it will pop up all the columns and all the rows here and it will import it here. Now I'll click on Excel sheet again, then fill down up the next Excel sheet, now open, and then I'll click on example 1 and this time I'll click on transform data. So this is the difference between load and transform data. I'll have this time Power Query Editor and can perform various ways. So like this reason, employee, item, quantity, and so on. Thank you. Now we will learn how to extract data in the Excel sheet. So on the Excel sheet or at the top, you will see insert, formula, and then data. Similarly, we have get data option from here, from the various resources like from file, from database, from Azure and other sources. So we will click on from file first option and click on the from Excel workbook. So from the Excel workbook, I'll have to import the data set, and again the same file I'll import here, customer details, and import data set here. So it's going to be connected here and will take few time, and I'll click on customer detail again and then load the data set. So you can see the entire data set is being loaded here, and once I will click on the customer details and all the data set is click here, and I'll click over here customer details, it will automatically jump to the Power Query Editor. You can see now this is open in Power Query Editor by default, and I can see table, transform, column types, customer ID, customer name, and all the columns over here. This is how we done in the extract data in the Power Sheet. Now I can close this file. So coming back to the Power BI Desktop, we are having customer details table over here, and now I am having this customer data and report, and on the left hand side I'm having suppose this customer details, and this customer details is going to be like this data set is entirely written over here, and again if you can see that entire data set is also written here. It is going to transform the data. Suppose I am going to transform this data, so this transformation is performing here. So on the right hand side I can have the applied steps, source, navigate. So many purposes are there. First one, there is no control Z in the Power BI, and we have log information here and perform edit query. So on the basis of edit query I can have the so many tables you can see on the left hand side, and on so many tabs are at the bottom part, and we will explain each one by one. And then we will have the name and customer ID over here. and whatever we are having promoted headers navigate, that will be done here. If same we will have in the in the in the Excel sheet. Like suppose I am switched on the Excel sheet, the same customer detail, and once I click on the data and perform queries and connection, I'll have the customer details. So once I customer details over here, click on the OK. So coming back to the transform data, no change, no option is there, nothing changed here. It's the same as Power BI and same is Excel sheet. So we will explain each and everything one by one. Now coming back to the Power BI editor, and this time I'm going to get data from web. So just click on the get data and click on more. So it will open. Yes, if it is not showing here, so just type search web over here and you will see option web data, import data from a web page. So just click over connect and then it will ask to the URL. So from where I want to get the data, I'll click on the Google and search for certain website which is having tabular data set. Suppose I am having box office mojo, and this website will contain so many data set. And suppose I want to get the data set of this spotlight, let's say this one, okay, or any other data set like 2020, and search over here, and then let's say any international data or any tabular data set. Make sure I'm having tabular data set. Yes, this is containing the tabular data set. So I'll copy this tab, Control C, this URL, and just paste it, this basic URL option, and paste it here and click open. So anonymous, this I am going to connect. It will take time to import all the tables and all the relevant tabular format. The same we will perform in the Excel sheet, and as of now we are going to establish a connection between the web portal and to Power BI editor. So it's taking time. So meanwhile we can see that suppose how to import the same data set. So I'm going to take blank workbook over here and just go to the data tab and click on from web and just click and paste the same URL over here and click over OK. So again it will connect to the web page and try to establish a dialog between the URL web page and the relevant sheet. Now you can see all the data set in the Power BI. It's going to show here. You can see this is table 1, this is table 2, and this is the table HTML file, and this table is different table data set, and I'm going to contain this table set. I'm going to load over here. So this will contain all the columns and all the rows we were seeing on the website. Similarly, I'll come back to the this data set. So I'll just click on this one and let's see table 0. Yes, table 0 is here. I'm going to connect over here. So this is how we can import all the tables in the Power BI editor and the Excel sheet. And suppose I come back to the Power BI, I'll click on the table 1, and is like click on edit query. So I'll have all the data set over here. So this will have column 1, area, weekend, release, distributor, and all the rows are also here, right? Thank you. So I'll click on the close and apply, and coming back to the Power BI editor, and we'll learn how to combine different files in a same folder. So I'll click on the folder and click on get data, click on the more and find where the folder option is residing. So folder, click on the folder and just give the path of your operating system of your hard disk. So I'll click on the combined folder here. This is the path of my entire folder, and I'm having new sales over here and having old sales folder here. So I'm having three sheets, 16, 17, 18, and having sales path here. So I'll click on Ctrl C and click on this folder path and paste it here and click OK. So once it will, you can see all the three sheets are going to pop up here, 16, 17, 18, and just combine and transform, load, or combine and load. So as of now I'm loading all these tables and will click combine all these data. So once I'll click on the sheet, so you can see that it will show all the data set of 2016, 17, and 18. So it's going to take load and all the columns over here, and this is the table 1. So this is now loaded, and just click on the table and go to the edit query, and you can see all the data set is just showing here. This is table 1, and suppose I'm having sales 2016 data set, and again I'm having on the first column, you can see this is 2016 data set, and I'll scroll down and just keep scrolling, and then I'll keep scrolling the data set, then I'll have the more data set over here. So 2016 data set, and then I'll have more data set over here. All properties, and then click over here. So I'll click on properties also. So this is having description, and click on rename, difference, moving to group, and so on, advanced editor. All right, so this will have all the data set. Right, suppose I am going to take one more file inside the folder. So what I'll do, I'll click on the new sales and click here, Ctrl C, and coming back to the sales folder and paste it here. Right, so now I'm coming back to the folder file here and going to the Power Editor file and just click on the table and sales and just refresh data. So when I'll refresh the data set, I'll have the sales, and you can see all the data set, sales data set, and sales part is also here. So I'll click on the transform and data. So I'll have the more data set over here. Right, so now table 1 is also reflected here. So this is going to perform all the data set. Thank you. So coming back to the Power BI editor tool, so as far as file tab is concerned, it's very much important. We are having three options here: close and apply, apply and close. Suppose I am going to close, so it won't apply any applied steps over here on this table, and just close the data set. Once I'll click on the apply, so it will apply all these steps on the table but will not move to the Power BI editor. but I'll click on the close and apply, so it will perform both the operations, close and apply, and move to the Power BI desktop. So once I'll have the report data and the data set over here and the Power BI this one tool, so I'll have to choose the option very wisely, whether I want to close and apply, and I want to close and I want to apply all the operations here. When we talk about the new query, suppose I click on the customer details and going to the edit query option, and here I am having Power Query option here, and first tab I see new query here. So for example, I want to import more data set. I don't need to come back to the desktop and means Power BI desktop and dashboard and import the data from the conventional method. But as of now, I can import new source, Word, Excel sheet, SQL Server, any data. I can click on the more and import all the data set from here, from this option also. So it will take time to import all the text sheet and Excel sheet from Azure and Excel means other data set also. Then I'll click on the recent resource. Whatever we have traversed the data set recently, it will pop up on the screen, and whatever the data set is just traverse over there. And suppose I want to enter the new data, so I can click over here, like suppose this is the Sachin data set, and going to create new column here. This is the Sachin, and let's say I'm going to create the next data set, next column. I can click over here. So what we'll do, it will just click OK, and you can see this column 1, column 2 is having new data set. So this column I can say name, I can rename it, and this column I can like surname over here. All right, so this surname can have the another data set. All right, so this is how we can perform the new query data set. A new query will be edited in my entire dashboard. Now coming back to the next option, that is data source over here. So data source is when I click on the data source, it will see that the original path at my PC local computer, it's having the particular location. And suppose I'm going to combine data folder and sales. So I'm going to the same folder and just click on the folder and combine folder and sales, and suppose I am having this customer details. So suppose I am going to Control X, delete this file from this location and paste it at desktop. So I'll come back to the Power Details and come back to Power Query, and now I'm going to click on data source. All right, and just refresh preview and refresh all. So what will I see? I will find some another reference, because my data set is now from the original location, from the original data sets. So you can see could not find file. This is not the exact path from where we have extracted the data set, because we have changed the data set location. So how to solve this issue? So we will come back to the data preview and come back to the data source and change. Okay, so we are going to change the customer details, come back here, change source over here, and now we are going to browse that file. That file is at desktop now. I'll click over here and open, and click on open, and then change, and then source, and again refresh all. You can see the entire data set is now refreshed. So the revised file or revised location will be given to the entire data set. And once I'll click on the data source setting, so it will see the revised data path over the Power Query editor. This is how we can update the data source setting. Now coming back to the Power Query editor. So if I'll click on the data source setting and then change source, so it will ask to the change source again. So this time I'm having revised my data set. So this Power Query is having in the original location the customer details over here, and then click OK and then close. So I'll click on the refresh all and then find the original data set is now there. So then we will look at the automation in Power Query, how to perform that. So in the automation for that, I'll click on the transform. So suppose for before that, I'll click on the like this data set. This is having few null data set. So what I'll do, I'll click on the transform and click on the this data set, this data set, and like all the data set, and click fill down. So you can see all the dataset has just filled down. Similarly, I'll click on this column and fill down, and then I'll have the dataset over here. So this is how we have done performed applied steps is fill down, and again I'll come back to the home tab and close and apply, as I have stated that close and apply. So now it will lead to the means load to the all the data set coming to the Power BI desktop, and in order to see the data set over here and click on the example one, you can see all the data set is just click here. Now coming back to the original data set, I'm having this, let's say, fill down data set, but C, I'm going to click on but V over here and open the file here, open the file fill down up, and try to enter more file here. Let's say I'll click on south here, I'll click on the employee, let's say Sachin here, and I'll click on the and I'll leave blank. Now I'll click and on the pens here, and I'll, let's say, click 12 over here, and I'll click 85 over here, and then I'll click save and over here. So coming back to the Power BI option, so I'll close this tab. Okay, so I'm going to coming back to the this example and going to the edit query, and again transform. So I'll click on the means I'll click on the means this one home and new source, new worksheet. So from the desktop I'll try to import that sheet. So click on the open set. Okay, so I'll have to change the name because okay, so now okay, so I'll click on the data resource. So this will have combine, fill down up, and change the source. And now this time I'll give the path of desktop. So this time I open this file. Okay, so I'll have to refresh this now. So refresh all. So once I have refreshed all, so I can see that the file is now as it is. So now I'll like try to give the different data source, like click on and change source, and this time I'll add, I'll try to change this dataset path. So like fill data, fill down only, and then try again. Okay, I'll close this file and try again. Now coming back to edit query. So inside this edit query, I'll try to refresh preview, and then again data source, and change the data source, fill down and change source. So now I'll browse my desktop file. So this fill down data I'm going to open here, click open and close. And again, so if I refresh all, so I'll see the data set over here. So now you can see the top down data set is already there. So this is having south already filled here, south already filled here, and now this is not filled because this is confused with the two data set. Is it should be have same data kind. So now this is having done here. Now I'll perform the close and apply and click on the there are changes and be applied, and now automatically refreshed and click on the data set. You can see the south Sachin Pens data set and down form is also performed. Now coming back to the this one, Power BI editor and customer details, and click on the edit query, and I'll make change from the first data set. So now this is going to means like add type text, and I want to change the data type decimal number, whole number, and date time. So I'm going to click data. So I'm going to click on this text filters, add a new query. Okay, so customer table, and then click on to the data set, and then click on the enter data. No, click on the transform data, and then replace value with replace with Sachin. So I'll have Sachin over here. So coming back to the again, coming back to the home, close and apply. I'll click on the original data set and click on the customer details. So it will have Bharti table over here. Now coming back to the fill down data set. So suppose I am having this sheet, par query and customer details. But see, I'll have having desktop. I just relocated the desktop. V and open this file now. This customer details. So this customer detail will have so many files, and I want to perform this delimiter. So I'll click on the like data and from table range, and I open this file into the Power BI. Right. So I'll click on the data set and click on the data set and OK. So this will open in the new query editor, and what I'll do here, I'll click on the table which we have working upon. So like customer tables, let's see. So I'll have to change the path of this query editor. Choose columns, table 4, table 2. So this is table 2. So what I'll do, I'll just perform the table 2 column here. So I'll click on the split column and then by delimiter. Right, so it's having comma each character. So I'll click on the copy and it will just create a second new column, and we can have this new column over here. Right, suppose I am having this file. right? So this file is already desktop customer details, and going to close and load, right? So this has created new file and original data set is here, right? So I'm going to create this file. I'm going to delete this column. So delete, and then going to click on data again, and from data range, so this is this one, and click on table range. So now I can see the data is over here in the original format customer ID, and I want to perform the split column. So I'll click on by split column delimiter, and it's automatically experiencing the delimiter over. This is hyphen, and going to click over here. So it's just split it into two parts. So I'm going to click close and load, and you can see it's just split it into two parts and created table 2 column here also. So one more thing I can see over here, suppose I'm just clicking the any going to the top, means going to the bottom part of this table, and then click like AB minus 14 like 5321, like, and here I am writing any name like Sachin and Saxena. So I just click over here and going to the table and just refresh the data and refresh all. So when I'm going to refresh all and going to the bottom part of this file, let's see whether my data set is there or not. Reflected or there not? Yes, it is reflected. My data set has been reflected over here. So this is the part of automation part, and here we can perform the automation using a split column. Coming back to the PowerBI desktop, and on the right hand side we are having customer details. Click on the three dots and click on the edit query. So now we have Power Query editor. We will talk about query this time. I will click on the refresh preview. So it will have two options, refresh preview and refresh all. So once we will click on the refresh all, it will revise or perform all the applied steps and refresh the data set if it has been changed from the original sheet, Excel sheet, and the other resources. So it will take time to refresh all the data set. So the next option, we will have properties over here. The description part is also here. We can write the description and keep enable load to report. We are always supposed to click on checkbox all these two options, because if we will uncheck this option, it will not report refresh once it is going to include, means it is going to refresh, and it's totally illogical to report refresh and all the query performed and the action applied there. And then we are going to perform advanced editor. In this advanced editor, so many attributes are there. We do not need to explain all these things. We are going to cover all these in upcoming time. But as of now, we are having what is the source of this sheet, the source Power Editor customer table. What is the customer detail sheet, from where we are obtaining the data sheet and the header file, and the sheet header is also explained here. What is the type of this data set? What is the replace value over here? We just replace there. So whatever we have done inside the applied steps, it's just means stored behind in some particular language. So we will be needing in upcoming sections, and we are not going to detail over here. Next, we are having manage and delete duplicate reference. So once you will click on the right click option, so delete, duplicate, and reference also popped up here on the left hand side, but we can manage all these options from here, like delete the column, delete the entire table. We can create duplicate table or duplicate column, we can create the reference and so on. So this is how we can perform all the query options over here. So the next option we have here, manage columns. So inside the columns we are having two options again, choose columns and then remove columns. Suppose I want to jump to the another arbitrary column, let's say column number 20. I'll have to keep scrolling because my data set is quite large, and I'll have to switch to column number 20. So what I'll do, I won't scroll over here, but I can go to the choose column and then go to the column and just click on column number 20 and click OK. So it will move to the column number 20 the same moment. Suppose I'll click on the choose column and I want to click onto the choose first two columns. So I'll click on the column and click OK. So it will having click column. So you can see the columns, it's just column, and it's having just click removed other columns. It has just removed other columns. Okay, so I just undo that option and all the columns are revised over here. Now remove columns, I can remove the columns, and then you can see the first column is now removed and rest columns are remaining here inside my table. So I'll undo again that operation, and now my first column is retained. Now I'll going to keep first two column and the rest column. So I'll keep the means remove columns, remove other columns, and then it will keep the selected column and remove all others columns. So this is the difference between the remove column and remove other columns. I'll undo that option again, and my tables is now in the original format. When we talk about the next option, that is reduce rows, so we can have keep rows option here. So I want to keep rows over here, and then number of rows, suppose I'm having 10 rows and click over 10. So first 10 rows are retaining over here and rest column rows are removed from the data set. So I'm going to undo that option again. So now I'm going to keep bottom rows. So again it will ask the 10 value, so it will remove first 10 values and last 10 values are remaining over here. All right, so this is the difference between last rows. So keep top rows, keep bottom rows. Now I want to keep range of the rows, so it will have like in between 2 and in between 9, I would say. So in between 2 is PC187 and 9 is TP. So I click on this one, so you can see PC187 till JP160. So 9 rows are retaining over here and kept range of the rows, and rest are deleted from my dataset. Similarly, keep duplicate, keep errors. Suppose I'm going to keep duplicates, so it's just remove the unique data set and unique rows and delete the duplicate value, delete the unique values and keep duplicate values. So I'm going to remove that values. Similarly, I can have keep errors. So remove the rows, again remove top rows. So it will ask how many remove rows I can remove. Similarly, I can remove alternate rows. Means how many alternate remove rows I can remove. How many remove blank rows? Remove if I want to remove duplicate rows, I can perform in this way. So you can see in the column number 3, so many duplicate range are there. So as of now, how many range are there? There are there are 794 rows are there. Let's check whether duplicate values are there or not. So remove duplicates. So now how many values are there? Instead of 794 values, uh, I think the values are now changed. It's not 774. If it would be there, then obviously we don't have, yes, we don't have any duplicate in the customer ID. So I'm going to remove that option again. So this is how we can perform the remove blank rows, remove errors also, and same we can perform in the Excel sheet. So in this section, we are going to create the split column. So in this split column, suppose delimiter. So delimiter is going to perform the separate column. Suppose this is going to create from the minus sign. So it will create two different columns and different values and delimited by minus sign. Suppose I'm going to split column again and going to split column by number of characters. So suppose I'm giving character number of characters 3 here. So it will remove first 3 character in the first column and keep rest of the character in the next column adjacent to the first column. So this is how. So suppose I'm having by number of characters, suppose I'm having 5. So I'm click on okay. So it will have, so okay, just click and split and undo all the options. Now I'm going to split column by number of characters. So I'm going to give 5 number of characters here. So now first 5 characters are remaining in the first column, rest values are separated in the next column. Similarly, I'm going to split column by positions. So from the given position 0 comma 2, so first 2 0 comma 2, first two values are separated and the next other values are separated in the another column. This is how we can perform the splitting of the columns. Similarly, we can perform by lowercase and uppercase, and we can have the digit to non-digit number and non-digit number to another. Suppose I am clicking on the non-digit number, it's not having any non-digit value, so it's not going to perform. Suppose I am giving to non-digit to digit, so you can see, so non-digit is different and digit values are different, are located in the different values. Now coming back to the next column, for this we are going to import new source, new Excel workbook. So from the Excel workbook, I'll jump to the Power Query option and Superstore data, so that we can have more group by option and the aggregate the data. So I'm click on the data set, not the customer, but the orders over here. I'm going to import that data set. So this data set, if you would see over here, so now apply changes. Now all the data set is going to import over here, and then click on the customer and click on the customer details. Let's say orders and edit query. So you can see order table is having so many columns and so many variety of data set. So now go to the group by option. So inside here we have two options, basic and advanced. In the basic we have order ID. Let's say we have subcategory, and subcategory I'm going to click over here. And what's the column name? Let's say I'm giving the Sachin as a column name. And what kind of operation? Suppose I want to perform some operation or over which column. So I'm going to perform that subcategory and over sales. So I want to get the subcategory and the sales option over here, and just click over here. You can see the subcategory is having first all the unique data is there, and Sachin is the aggregate value sum of all the data set. All right, so this is the aggregate function, and we have group by all these function. Now I'm going to this one. Now again going back to the group by function, and this time I'm selecting advanced. So now previously I can choose only one column, one aggregate function, but now I can choose order date or the more than one category. Suppose I click the category here and subcategory, I'll click the subcategory over here. So here I'm having like Sachin as a table name and count rows, and over the column I'm going to sum, and then want to perform sum over the sales. So I want to add one more aggregate function. So I'll give the column name. That's the column name is your choice, and want to perform the average value, and this quantitative value I'm taking from sales again. Click on OK. So you will see this time I'm having category, subcategory, fish Sachin, and the second value. So inside the office subcategory, office suppliers category, I'm having fastener subcategory, and the sum of this these sales is this one, and sum of this sales is again this one, this category. So this is how we can perform the group by option. Now, so many times we have seen that when we are choosing the option, so instead of this column 1, column 2, we are having the customer ID, customer name. But sometimes what happens, suppose I click on example 1, another table. So you can see here the area weekends release distributor. So this is the first data set, first column, but as of now we can see that the data set means the column name, like this table 1 is not showing the column 1, column 2 as a area weekend release. They are replaced with the original data set. So what we can do, we can use first row as a header. So once click on this data set, and you can see now this area weekends are becoming the header or the fixing header. So this is release 1 distributor and the another column's name, and we are going to close and apply. And then when coming back to the dashboard and going to the table, it's going to load all the changes inside the table 1, and when I'll click on the table 1, it will show the entire release area distributor weekend release column. Okay, so coming back to the, let's say table 1, this is showing correct, this is again category correct, orders correct, example 1 correct, all these column names are showing correct values. All right, so this is how we can perform the value on the given data set and fix the column values. Now suppose I'm going to the customer details again, edit query. So this is having so many columns, and I want to perform this merge query over here. So what I'll do, I'll perform some merge query, and going to click merge query over here and click the choose the second column. So this is the customer, and again I am having customer ID over here. So I'll choose another table, let's say example 1. So I'll choose orders. Yes, this is having order ID, customer ID. So I'll choose column value, control with the help cult, I'll choose customer ID, which is the common column. So in these two tables, so I want to perform left outer, right outer, full outer, or inner. So this will have left empty or so only matching rows. So suppose I perform inner join, so it will have the estimated rows, and I'll click on the column values. So you can see, so you as compared to SQL query, it will have more options there, and I'm having this much values over here. Okay, so in this way we can perform the merge query and column value and merge query append queries. So if you want to merge query as new, so we can do the same thing, but it will create a new values. So I'm going to undo this value, because so that no option will be changed. So again, append queries, we can change the existing queries and how many tables we want to if we want to add 3 more tables and so on. this is how we can perform the SQL outer join, left join, and other joins also. So this time I'm going to import two new tables. So I'm going to get data, Excel, and now I'm going to case study and expense allowance and allow versus. I'm going to click on that and see how many tables are there in this given Excel sheet. So actual expenses and allow expense allowance. So I'm going to import all these tables and click over here. So I want to keep all these means actual allowance. I want to check how many of these employees have exceeded the means actual expenses. They have exceeded the actual allowed. So what I'll do, I'll just giving to the actual allowance, and like I'll perform the this one actual allowance and then perform the pivot table. So this is my actual data set, right? So I'll do the pivot, do the entire, select the entire column here, and then I'll perform the transform and unpivot columns. So you can see here I am having top down values and all these values here. All right. So I'm going to unpivot again and going to this one perform all these data set. So now actual expenses is also again here. So I'm going to add this one, add query like split, and perform the merge column and click over here and extract, add column, and inside the X column I'm going to extract, format, and going to add column here, which is the extract, and can perform conditional columns here. So inside this conditional column I can perform if E1 is greater than this value, then what is the output, right? Then I can have the, so the value, let's say this is the value from 25,000, so I can perform that value over here. So this is the additional column here and additional value over given value. So this is the additional column and additional expenses I can add on the right hand side. Same here. Now in this column we have table, all the department value and all the values respective given here. So I just click over here, click on this column and select all these rest column also and perform the transform and go to the unpivot columns. Now I'm having respective values. So now you can see this values and the actual expenses are almost same. So now I want to merge this actual value and the allowance value in a single table. So what I'll do, I'll click on the actual expense and go to the means home button and click on the merge query and merge query again and click on the this one actual expenses and expense allow and control division grade column and attribute and left outer, and I'm going to click OK. So now I'm having expense allow in the table format. So I'll click on the button and select all, click the values and OK. So now it will have all the values. Now I want the actual expenses, which is the exceeding over here. All right. So I'll click on the transform and add column and conditional column over here and the custom value. Let's say I'm giving this column name as a Sachin and column name actual expenses, and it should be is greater than value, or I would say is greater than add the value and enter select a column. So here I'm going to select enter a number. So here I can select the if and advanced value, and output should be there. So here I have added one more column here, going to the conditional column here, and here I'll choose the column name. Let's say it's a Sachin again. So now column name, what is the column name? Actual expenses, and operator is equal to or is greater than. So I'll click value and select a column. So I'll select the actual expenses, not the value, but here, and click OK. So now I'll see the value over here, select none and OK value. All right. So now you can see it is having the actual values over here. All right. So in this query, I'll having like in this having text editor, I'll going to filter row. So I'm going to add column, delete that column, going to the conditional column here and giving the same name Sachin and column name, that is actual expenses, and is greater than, and then and let's say instead of value select a column. So from this column I'll click the value here and I'll click the yes, otherwise no. So I'll click the value. So if on the basis of yes and no I can select yes, so I'll click the yes value. So I'm having so many values, those are having actual exceeding the values, those are greater than the actual expenses and the value they have expanded over the allowances. Now we are going to move towards the export the data or the parsing the data. So for this we are going to import verse Excel file, and from this Excel file I'm going to import the parts content over here. So inside this parts content we have so many different data set and different data type like Excel sheet, and you can see the third column is consisting JSON format and the XML format. So I'm going to load that table, and inside this apply changes I'm having this sheet JSON file. So what I'll do, I'll go to the transform function and parse this JSON file and click on the this table and going to the select all and click on OK. So it will have that filter value and click all and then click OK. So again select all and then click OK. I'm going to parse this JSON file into the JSON, and then you can see the JSON is now into the different format. So this thing I can click on the load more, used original column as a prefix and click on. Now my data set is parsed into the format: the person ID, person first name and person last name. Similarly, I can see as of now how many columns are there, 5, and 6th is the XML format. So I'll click on this column and go to the XML format and then table, but I want to click on the use model and original, and then now you can see my XML format is converted into the tabular format. Like the first is table ID, second is country, third one is the division, and now I'm having instead of 5 or 6 column, now I'm having 6, 7, 8 columns, and this is converting into the tabular format. But original file was in the JSON and the XML format. So this is the expanded and the parse table for the given data set. So this is all the Power Query, and similarly we can have the more options, like the on the left hand side we can have the group, and like go to the home option, manage, and the duplicate reference. Suppose I click on the customer details and on the right hand side I create move to the group and new group, let's say. So I'll have A B C, so it will create a new group. So you can see ABC is nothing, just like a new folder we maintain in our local PC, and this table is just moved to the customer details. Similarly, we can have the more sales and go to the means right click, go to the move to group and ABC. Now this table has moved to this group. This is how we can manage the dataset. And now we can have the like expenses allow, and now we can have the reference button and again click on the from where it has been referenced and where it has been originated. So this is going to perform that kind of operation. So this is how we can perform all the query in the Power BI and Power Query Editor.